The 60s weren't just a decade, they were a sensation, a time when the world seemed to be changing in slow motion, but at the same time accelerated like never before. The streets had a different rhythm, the cars had a different sound, and life seemed simpler, or at least that's how memory insists on keeping it. It was a time the radio playing loudly in the living room, of the black and white TVs gathering the family around a picture full of wheezing. The news came later. The conversations were longer, and the silence had a different weight. In the cities, young people began to transform everything. Music exploded with electric guitars. Rock was gaining momentum, and names like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones weren't just bands. They were cultural revolutions in sound form. Each new record seemed to open a door to a completely different world. On the streets, cars had a presence. Long lines shining chrome. Engines that not only transported people, but represented status, freedom, and dream. Traveling was an event, not a routine. And inside the house, there was a simplicity hard to explain today. Games on the street until late. Neighbors who really knew each other. Family dinners without digital distractions. Time seemed slower and therefore more intense. But the 60s were not just nostalgia. They were also conflict, transformation, and rupture. Social movements, political changes, protests, and new ideas have redefined the world. It was a time when everything seemed to be being rebuilt from scratch. Maybe that's why so many people look back on the 60s with such a strong feeling. It's not just longing for the past. It's longing for a sense of beginning, from a world where everything still seemed possible, and each day carried the weight of something new emerging. And when we revisit that decade today, we're not just remembering what it was. We're trying to understand what we've lost and what's never been the same again. And when that nostalgia hits hardest, it doesn't come alone. It is accompanied by fragmented images. The glow of shop windows, neon signs lighting up at dusk, the distant sound of radio on some corner. Everything seems more alive in memory than perhaps it was in reality. It is as if the 60s left a kind of invisible mark on time, a cultural signature that still appears in movies, music, and even fashion today. The past didn't get stuck there. It keeps reappearing, reinterpreted, reinvented. On the movie screens, it was the era of great stories, classic heroes, intense dramas. Each film seemed to have more weight, more silence between the lines, more meaning in the pauses. Nothing was just entertainment. It was experience. And in music, everything seemed more raw and truer. The recordings weren't perfect, but they were real. The sound of the distorted guitar, the unfiltered drums, the voice without so much editing, all this created a direct connection with those who listened. But perhaps the strongest thing about this nostalgia is the sense of community, of a world where people were more present in each other, where life was not divided between screens, notifications, and algorithms, but between encounters, looks, and real conversations. Of course, time softens everything. It erases the difficult parts and highlights what was beautiful. And maybe that's why the 60s seem, today, almost like a collective dream, a place where the past gains a glow that the present cannot reproduce. Even so, that memory lives on, not as something to go back to, but as something to understand. Because when we look at the 60s, we are actually looking at ourselves and what we still wish to find in the future. And it is curious how this nostalgia does not belong only to those who lived through the era. Even those who were not there feel something familiar when they see those black and white images, when they hear those old chords, when they observe the serious faces in photographs that seem to carry more history than words can explain. It is as if the 60s have become a symbol not of a specific time, but of a universal feeling. The feeling that a different world once existed, where everything seemed to have a clearer beginning and a less definite end. Today, contrast is inevitable. We live in a time of extreme speed, constant information, instant connections. And precisely because of this, the memory of a slower time gains even more strength. Not necessarily better, but more breathable. The 60s represent for many this breath of the past, an interval where the world was still discovering itself, where changes had a human face, where technology had not yet completely taken center stage in everyday life. But perhaps the greatest illusion of nostalgia is to believe that it was simple. It wasn't. There were tensions, uncertainties, inequalities, and very real fears. Only time rearranges memory and turns complexity into aesthetics. And yet, something remains intact, the feeling that that period carried a unique energy, a mixture of innocence and rebellion, of tradition and rupture, of stability and chaos. This is what keeps the 60s alive in the collective imagination, not as a place that really existed just like that, but as a mirror where each generation sees what it misses in present. And perhaps this is a true power of nostalgia, not to bind us to the past, but to remind us of what we still seek to build in the future. And when this reflection comes to an end, one last perception remains. The past does not return, but the way it affects us remains alive. The 60s may have fallen behind the calendar, but they remain present in every cultural reference, in every sound rescued, in every image that still arouses curiosity. It is as if that decade had become a meeting point between memory and imagination. Deep down, maybe nostalgia is not about going back in time, but about trying to understand why certain times keep drawing us so much attention, why some decades seem to carry more emotional weight than others, and why the simple act of looking back still moves us so much. And as history continues to advance, new generations will reinterpret this past, giving new meanings, new readings, new emotions. What was everyday becomes a symbol. What was common became valuable memory. Before closing, there is an invitation. If you like this type of content, which revisits the past, explores stories, curiosities, and moments that mark time, then subscribe to the channel. Leave the like to support the video and activate the notifications so as not to miss the upcoming contents. Because here, every video is a different journey, and there's still a lot of past to be explored.